Chasing After a Ghost, Part 1. I've always thought that I had a healthy relationship with alcohol. I did not drink too much, and I always remembered everything that happened the next morning. Never had I been faced with gaps in my memory, the only solid thing being how I felt like I had just had the best night of my life. I mean, once I got past the feeling that my insides were completely destroyed, there was an overwhelming feeling I could not understand. It felt as if I had just had the best night of my life. I never engaged in one-night stands ever, but last night had been different. I knew that I had had amazing sex. I got a few flashbacks, but everything was blurry and I could not even remember how the person I got intimate with looked. However, the longing I felt was quite new. I wished that I'd remembered the person I had been in and every moment, because never had I ever experienced something like that. All through my life, I did not have a healthy relationship with intimacy. I engaged in it often, but there was always a connection lacking, and after a while, I started to realize that I was the problem. I could date some beautiful and amazing woman, but when it came to being intimate, I just could not connect. But when I woke up that morning, I knew that I had experienced the previous night and I wanted to see that person. I had gone to my friend Leslie's party and had a little too much to drink, which was uncharacteristic for me. I was going through some hectic family drama, which made me even more eager to drink too much. I have no idea when I lost awareness of my surroundings, but I woke up the next morning in a guest room. There was no one beside me except for a ring, which did not help because it was plain and quite small. There were no engravings or anything that could jog my memory. I got up and nearly doubled over due to the extreme pain that I was in. Then I made my way out of the room and bumped into someone sleeping outside the door. Yeah, it had been quite a party, and it seemed that it had gone hours into the morning. Luckily, I had my car keys and my wallet. So after drinking some water and getting headache pills from Leslie's cabinet, I felt well enough to leave. Since I do not have work that morning, I was able to sleep until late in the afternoon. When I woke up, I did not feel as if I was at death's door anymore. So I texted my friends at the party to find out if they had any knowledge of what happened the previous night. Well, that was not very helpful, and all I got was them telling me what a wild night it had been, and how wasted I was. I also got unwanted illustrations of the story in the form of pictures and videos. I did get some helpful info though. I had disappeared around midnight, but no one knew with who. Sam, one of my good friends, could not stop teasing me about my one-night stand. Sam: Ah, so the mighty have fallen. Welcome to the world of one-night stands. I cannot believe you got so wasted, dude. Me: Gee, thanks for the welcome message, but on a more serious note, I need to find out who it was that I spent the night with. Sam: Why is this person so important though? Trust me, sometimes it's good to part ways with someone after a night together. Stuff can get complicated really quickly. Me: Dude, I have never felt like that before. Would it not be a mistake if I let this person go? What if it's someone I could have potential with? Sam: Okay, I get you. But how are you gonna find her? There are so many people at the party last night. It would be like trying to find a needle in a haystack. Me: You have such little faith in me. I need to find this person and see if there's a connection between us. Sam: Okay. I cannot stop you anyways. Once you put your mind to something, then it will be difficult to convince you otherwise. Me: Thanks, bro. If you remember anything, then please tell me. Sam: Of course, Pete. I went to Leslie's house the next day to see if I could retrace my steps and hopefully regain my memory. Why does it seem like everyone except me got some action last night? She groaned. How so? I asked. Just a couple of people who have been asking me to confirm that I saw them with someone. That is the disadvantage of having such a big house with many bedrooms, I guess. Maybe one of them could be the girl I was with last night, I exclaimed. Do you even remember how she looked? She asked. Nope, I cannot remember her voice or how she looked, just how she felt, I responded. Ew, too much info, she laughed. Yeah, whatever. Do not forget how descriptive you can be when you're telling me about your relationship with Chuck, I laughed. Whatever. Are you going to retrace your steps or not? She asked. I nodded, then I started walking around the house. I remembered some vague details which were not very important, but not much else. I drank a lot of shots and danced quite a bit, but no one stood out of my mind. Then, when I was in the kitchen, I got a flashback of talking to someone with blonde hair, which was about shoulder length, that I could not remember their face or their voice, which really sucked. In the end, I decided to leave her place because there did not seem to be much that I could recall. When I got home, I started looking through the pictures of that night, looking for someone who was wearing a ring that I found. It was quite difficult to find anyone because most of the pictures were blurry and there were a lot of people there. But then, I paused when something caught my eye. I was giving each picture a quick glance before I looked at another one, so I had a very high chance of missing it. but it was undeniable. There, on the corner of an image, was a person's hand, but the person themselves was cut out of the picture. And when I saw that hand, suddenly I had a feeling which is difficult to explain, but it was almost as if I got a phantom touch, which was maddening because I was accompanied by a feeling of wanting. However this person was, she seemed to have quite an effect on me and I needed to find her. Assuming that it was a woman. Now that I was thinking about it, I had not entertained the idea that it might not be a woman, and I did not know how to feel about that. I was sure that I was straight. That was the default, and I had never experimented before. I never thought that anyone would be able to give me a thrill, regardless of gender. So I just stuck to woman, where I had no luck. I remembered that in the kitchen I had a flashback of longish blonde hair, so that gave me the idea to find a blonde girl at the party, and surely one of them would be able to help me out. Every chance that I got, I texted girls who had been at the party and explained my situation. It was a bit embarrassing to admit that I did not even remember the face of the person I spent the night with, but after a while, I stopped being embarrassed and focused on my investigation. I do not easily let stuff go, which is both a curse and a blessing. My habit assisted me in important things, but that meant I shut everything else out and focused at the task at hand. I was obsessed with finding that person, as if my life depended on me. I wanted to experience their presence once again because no one had ever had such an impact on me. My friends got really tired of my obsession with this person and they all tried to stop me from chasing ghosts, but I could not stop. Some of the girls remembered me from that night, but they could confidently tell me that they did not spend the night with me, or own any plain silver ring. But then a name kept popping up, which was a guy that I had met at the party called Sean. I did not remember much about Sean, but I did remember that we bumped into each other several times and engaged in some pretty cool conversations, but I never got his number. I started to search for him, but he was not in any of the pictures. I was sure that he would have seen me with someone since we had spent most of our time with each other, but I could not find him. There were thousands of people with that name, and I didn't even know his last name, so social media was not a good place to look for him. But I did ask several friends to help me find this guy. I also went to more of Leslie's parties, hoping to find either Sean or better yet, the girl I slept with. But it was like I was chasing ghosts and I was beginning to doubt myself. Besides the ring and a few vague memories, I did not have any proof that she existed. Now I was faced with the decision to continue searching. Maybe forever, or completely forget about my encounter with the stranger, because the more I could not find her, the more effort I put into it. My memory was a dead end, and no matter how much I tried, there was nothing new for me to work with. I decided to just let it go and move on with my life, for it was now interfering with my entire schedule. I barely slept or did anything else other than look for my stranger. But right when I was about to give up, I got a message from some girl who claimed to be Sean's cousin, who was at the party with him. According to her, Sean remembered me and could piece together what had happened to me. I was elated that finally, I was going to get the information about the girl who had made me go mad looking for her. I asked Sean's cousin to pass over his number, but she said that he would rather meet with me face to face than tell me what happened in person. This was my first proper lead in ages, so I agreed to meet up with him in public the following day. I did not ask her anything else because I was not thinking anymore. All I could think about was meeting the girl who had piqued my interest without me ever having met her before. I tried to get some sleep and I sort of managed. I went to meet him at a restaurant on the other side of town. He was kind of short and delicate looking. It was evident in the way that he carried himself and spoke in a very soft voice. I noticed right off the bat that his hands were really soft, but I guess my mind blocked it, because I did not want it to be what I thought it was. Hey, Pete, right? I never thought that I would see you again after that night. Wild, right? He chuckled. Yeah, I remember hanging out with you for a bit. You're cool. Thank you so much for helping me make sense of what happened last night. Wild indeed, I laughed. Oh, I know exactly what you mean. I do not really use my phone as much, so I could not give you my number. I believe I lost my silver ring. Pretty small. I have small hands that my cousin always teases. He kept on speaking, but I was not listening. He lost me at the silver ring. Suddenly, everything started to add up, and my memory came back. I could not believe that I did not do the math when I saw him. His small hands that were as soft as the ghost I was reaching for. The feeling of familiarity around him, and his long blonde hair which was put into a bun. It was clear as day, and that night was not so hazy anymore. What had happened was that I was kind of flirting with this guy, but I was very drunk. Then we ended up in a room together, and one thing led to another. Every intense feeling came back to me. How his touch made me feel so wanted, and the attraction I felt towards him. I had not hesitated in taking him in, leading to the best sex that I had ever had in my life. My mind was reeling with the sudden influx of information. Sean, wait, what? I finally said. He talked me through our encounter and how he had been searching for me ever since that night. He had to go out of town that morning, which was why he left in a rush. When he called Leslie, who was just an acquaintance of his, to ask about a guy he had been with, she knew nothing. How could she have? She knew me as someone who was straight. I started to feel really hot because of all the stuff he was saying. Even though he was saying all of that, I could not fully register what he even meant. Dude, I'm sure there was a lapse in my judgment due to the liquor. Believe that you are a good person, but I'm not gay, I said. Oh gosh, he said as his eyes widened. He looked like he needed some air due to the way that he started sweating. I knew exactly how he was feeling. It was a tough conundrum. I slept with a straight guy? And I with a gay guy, I said in almost a daze. So sorry, dude, I had no idea that you were not gay. Gosh, I feel bad. How could I make such a mistake? He facepalmed himself. I was in utter shock. I was a straight guy despite my complicated issue with my attraction to women. I had no problem with gay people, but yeah, this was far from what I expected to hear from him when I met up with him. I think that we both need to process this. Can we meet up and discuss this some other time, I asked? Good idea, he said as he extended his hand to me. As soon as he touched me, I felt like a current was going through my body. It was the exact feeling that I had felt when I was intimate with him. He caught my eye and the feeling intensified. I quickly retreated and mumbled my goodbyes. When I got home, I threw myself onto my bed and screamed. The whole situation was so confusing, and the more I thought about it, the more I found myself in a rut. I was so sure of who I was attracted to or semi-attracted to. What I knew about myself and my sexuality could not have been a lie for all these years. Why did that man, who I had only met twice in my life, make my body feel like it was melting? The logical side of my brain fought with the less rational one. I did not do well with any change or irregularities in my life, and I guess not with mysteries. I'd wanted to find my stranger so that I could put to rest the thoughts which plagued my mind. But now I had so many more questions and very confusing answers. And it seemed that I also had his ring. The reminder that I had not given his ring back made me think of his very soft hands. I could not handle the feeling that washed over my body. I caught myself on time and I washed my face, then my mind was a little bit clearer. This was a foreign feeling that I had to get to the bottom of, and he was the answer. I would find out if this was just remnants from my drunk night or something more. But first, I had to return his ring because seeing it set me off, thinking about him again. I asked his cousin for his phone number, but she warned me that he barely even used his phone. But I had to take a chance and get to the bottom of this. It seemed that once again, I was obsessed. I left him a text, but I did not get a response for days, so I figured that he did not want to talk to me or he was busy. When I had completely given up hope of him texting me back, I got a call from him. My heart spiked up when I saw his name. Hello, he said in a soft voice. I shook myself and focused. We have to meet. Have your silver ring. Oh, thank you very much. I had completely forgotten about it. Can you come over to my place? I could send you the address, he said. I know I should have suggested a neutral spot, but I found myself saying, see you soon. To be continued. Donate to us on Ko-fi to support our channel, link in the description. Thanks for watching, consider subscribing to become part of our Rainbow Force, and stay wholesome.